And we are back. NFL Week 7 predictions. In the last episode, I ended up going 13 and 1, putting my season total up to 59 and 33, with the lone game getting wrong being the Lions Cowboys. So, probably the worst possible game to get wrong. However, I did get my lock of the week right as well, which was the Bengals Giants. So, can't use the Bengals anymore. But we're going to get right into it. Starting out tomorrow, as I record this, October 17th, 8:15 p.m., all games in Eastern Standard Time, by the way, we have the 3-3 Broncos at the 2-4 Saints. Now, this should be a fun game because this is going to be Sean Payton going back to New Orleans. I don't know. I can't remember if they played last year or not. But this should be a fun game because, they have a few players who are from the Saints organization. Uh, Getting back to what the teams did last week, the Broncos fell 23-20, I want to say, to the Chargers. 23-16, I was close. While the Buccaneers beat the Saints like 51-27 or something like that. I do have the Broncos winning this game because I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to do well. I do think he is a honestly pretty solid quarterback, but I think, he's going to struggle a lot, especially against, the Broncos defense with guys like Pat Surtain. Moving on to our London game. London, 9:30 a.m. You got the 1-win Patriots versus the 1-win Jaguars. The Patriots ended up falling 41-21 to the Texans, while the Jaguars ended up falling 35-16 to the Bears in London. So, they're going to look to redeem themselves in London this week, and I actually do have them doing that. But, however, I'm not done with them yet, because I also have the Jaguars as my lock of the week. We're going to recap it already. If you don't know what lock of the week means, basically every week I'm allowed to pick one team and, to win their game. This week I'm picking the Jaguars. If they win, they win. If they lose, they lose. I'm currently 5-1 with it, so we're doing pretty good. The only catch is I'm allowed to pick each team once. I'm not allowed to pick them a second time. That prevents me from picking the Chiefs every week. So I have to be strategic on it if I want to waste the good teams now early on in the season, or if I want to try and pick, some matchups where I like, some bad teams and save the good teams for later on. So, yeah, I'm picking the Jaguars this time. So, we're trying to get that bad team out of the way. And this is one I don't feel the most comfortable about, but for having a 1, potentially 2-win team, I feel pretty good. And I'm picking the Jaguars, obviously, if you couldn't tell. Next up, we have the Lions and the Vikings. This game should be incredible. The Vikings, we're just going to quickly recap, coming off of a bye week. While the Lions, 47-9 win over the Cowboys or something like that. They looked electric. They looked like they're one of the best teams in the league, and, well, they are. I am going to take the Lions to win this game. This is a battle for the NFC North. Very tight race so far between all four of the teams. And I think the Lions are going to, finally dethrone the Vikings for that first place spot. And I do think that will be one of the best games. Hopefully, because, if it ends up being another Lions-Cowboys game, not going to be, for a Lions fan it will be, but for, might not be the funnest. Next, we have Titans 1-4, Bills 4-2. The Titans coming off of a 20-17 loss to the Colts, while the Bills coming off of a 23-20 win over the Jets. I am going to take the Bills. I'm sorry, Titans. It's just, even though the Bills did not look the greatest last week, if you saw the game, you saw the penalties. I don't need to say anything else. You'll know. And that's not like a dig at the refs. That's, 250 penalty yards combined between the two teams. That's insane. But the Bills are going to destroy you, I think. Moving on, we have the Dolphins and the Colts. Dolphins 2-3, they're coming off of a bye week, while the Colts 3-3 coming off of, we just talked about, the win over the Titans. Now, I do think the Colts are going to win this game because, well, I don't like Skylar Thompson. I don't like Tyler Huntley. Tua, as far as I know, is not going to be back yet, which, might suck because he's still sitting on IR on my fantasy team. But give me the Colts because, well, even though it sounds like Anthony Richardson's starting, and I do think Joe Flacco has more upside, is better with Anthony Richardson having, more upside for, later on. Still going to take him. Moving on to the next game, we have the Seahawks and the Falcons. The Seahawks 3-3 coming off of their third straight loss. 36-24 to the 49ers, while the Falcons picking up their win 38-20 over the Panthers. And this is one of those games where I legit have no idea who I want to pick because I think this is a great game. And I believe the odds for this game should legit be like 51-49. I think it is that close of a game that I think this is such an evenly matched game. I'm going to pick the Seahawks simply because I don't see the Seahawks losing 4 in a row after starting out 3-0. It's a weird reason, but it's the reason I'm going with. So, give me the Seahawks. But I do not feel confident in it. Moving to our next game, Texans-Packers. This should be another great one. 5-1 Texans, 4-2 Packers, both coming off wins. The Texans 41-21 over the Patriots, while the Packers 34-13 over the Cardinals. And this same exact situation should be 51-49. I don't know who to go with. I'm going to go with the Packers because that's my favorite team. I have confidence in them. But I genuinely do not know. I don't know what this little stretch of games is where we have, Texans, Packers, Seahawks, Falcons, Lions, Vikings. But this should be a very fun 1 o'clock slate if, all the games end up how I believe they will. Moving on to the next one, we have Bengals, Browns. Bengals 2-4, Browns 1-5. The Bengals picking up the win. 17-7 to the Giants, while the Browns fall 20-16 to the Eagles. Now, I do have the Bengals winning this game, but same exact situation. It's one of those where if you look at years past, the Browns have had the Bengals number. The Browns have lost, I think, 2 times in the last, 8 years or something? And one of them was being a Week 18 one where the Browns sat their starters. I'm going to take the Bengals because I don't like the Browns at all. But I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be enough to win that game for them. So, even though the Browns have done historically well against the Bengals, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to keep that streak going. I think if there was any other quarterback, we could be talking about a different story, but Deshaun Watson, no. Next, we have the final 1 o'clock game, the Eagles and the Giants. The Eagles 3-2 coming off of the win over the Browns, while the Giants coming off of the loss over the Bengals. Wow, that's super convenient. We don't even have to go over those games. This is one of those where it could be good since it's a division game. However, I don't think it will be. I'm going to take the Eagles, and I don't think it's going to be close. However, like I said, it is a division game, so it does have that potential. Next, we have the Raiders 2-4, Rams 1-4. The Raiders coming off of a loss to the Steelers again, while the Rams coming off of the bye week. I'm going to take the Rams. The Raiders, they just lost Devontae Adams to the Jets. I still don't know the status of Jacoby Myers, but Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew, heck, you could even bring in a guy like Ryan Tannehill. They're not going to save that team. Tom Brady's not allowed to play anymore, so just because he's the owner of your team now does not mean he's going to help you. Give me the Rams. Next, we have the Panthers Commanders. Panthers suck. Commanders don't suck. Panthers 1-5 coming off of a loss, while the Commanders actually 4-2 are coming off of a 30-23 loss. Panthers losing 38-20 to the Falcons. We're going to keep this short and simple. Give me the Commanders. You barely lost to the Ravens. You're a good team. Next, we have Chiefs 49ers, 4:25 p.m. If my predictions do go right, the Chiefs will be the final remaining undefeated team, as they are coming off of a bye week, 5-0, while the 49ers coming off a 36-24 win over the Seahawks. And just because you're the last undefeated team doesn't mean you're going to stay undefeated. I'm taking the 49ers, and by week 7, there are going to be 0 undefeated teams left. Hopefully I'm right, because if not, that would be awkward. Moving on to our next one, we got Sunday Night Football. We have the 2-4 Jets against the 4-2 Steelers. The Jets falling 23-20 to the Bills, while the Steelers beat the Raiders. I don't remember the score, but it was not a close game. 32-13. Give me the Jets, because the Steelers' downfall for this game is going to be starting Russell Wilson. Justin Fields has done really well for your team in order to put him in this spot. His stats haven't been eye-popping, MVP talks, but he has won you these football games. And you're telling me you're going to now bench that guy for Russell Wilson, a dude who has been injured for the past 6 weeks? For what? Justin Fields has gotten you 4-2 for a reason. Don't, risk that, especially against a losing team like the Jets, who are, acquiring one of the best wide receivers in the past few years. It doesn't make sense. Give me the Jets, because I think the Steelers are shooting themselves in the foot here by starting Russell Wilson. And I honestly think if now they were to switch to Justin Fields, I still think the Jets would win, because I think Fields would, honestly play pretty bad, because, you hurt his feelings and stuff. It's a weird reasoning, but it's the reason I'm going with. Moving on to Monday night, we have 2 of them. The first one being the Ravens and Buccaneers, battle of the 4-2s. The Ravens, they ended up winning 30-23. While the Buccaneers, same thing, ended up winning. And this should be a very fun game. And, well, I'm going to pick the Buccaneers. I think this is yet again one of those that it should be 51-49. These games are for some reason so good this week, or at least on paper they are, so who knows. I'm going to take the Buccaneers, but I'm not confident in this one either. So, yeah. Finally, we have the Chargers 3-2, Cardinals 2-4. Chargers, they beat the Broncos 23-16, while the Cardinals, they fell 34-13 to the Packers. I think the Chargers are going to win this game, because they're trying to keep up with, the playoffs and all that, and, well, as it stands, they are in the playoffs, so good for them. But unfortunately for the Cardinals, I think you are going to lose yet again another game. So that is going to do it. I'm going to quickly do a recap of, my picks. With the teams I have winning being the Broncos, Jaguars, Lions, Bills, Colts, Seahawks, Packers, Bengals, Eagles, Rams, Commanders, 49ers, Jets, Buccaneers, and Chargers. With the Jaguars being my lock of the week. If I didn't say your team's name, it unfortunately does mean they are losing, unless you are the Chicago Bears or the Dallas Cowboys, who are on a bye week this week. We're going to also quickly go over the playoff picture through 6 weeks. Starting out at the 1 seeds, we have both the Chiefs and Vikings at 5-0. I mean, that's what you get for being undefeated still. At the 2 seeds, we have the Texans, who are 5-1, and the Falcons, who are 4-2. The 7 seeds being the Colts, who are 3-3, and the Packers, who are 4-2. So the Texans-Colts should be a fun playoff game, a little division game, and then Packers-Falcons, I would hope, would be. 3 seeds, we got Ravens, Commanders, both 4-2. 6 seeds, Chargers 3-2, Buccaneers 4-2. Same thing, we got the Harbaugh Bowl between Ravens, Chargers, and Commanders, Buccaneers. They met in the playoffs not too long ago, so hopefully that could be, a fun little game as well. And then the 4 seeds being the Bills, 4-2, 49ers 3-3, 5 seeds being the Steelers 4-2, Lions 4-1. The NFC one I like between 49ers Lions. That AFC one between Bills Steelers I don't think would be good at all, though. And then, finally, quickly to recap, again, I did go 13-1 last week, making my total 59-33, being 5-1 on, locks of the week. No teams have done anything, worth mentioning. No teams have clinched a spot. No teams have, been eliminated. None of that. We won't be getting to that for like another, probably 4 or 5 weeks at the earliest. But that is going to do it. I hope you enjoyed. I did. Quick reminder, though, like I said, I'm not confident in a lot of these picks, so make sure to check Twitter. I would say before every game day, probably honestly just before Sunday, though, because, I'll only tweet once if it's, that Thursday one. Because if I do change a pick, it is going to be announced on my Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. YoshiZ_YZ, same as my YouTube. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time, which should be a little spoiler, the Rams playoff game. Don't know how it's going to go, though. I haven't even recorded yet. I just know that's next on the agenda. Goodbye, and hope you enjoy.